Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna call my daughter.
Yeah, you'll be in here. Here we go, you guys.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Russell Stevens. Welcome to Living Life on Stop Recovery Radio. Brought to you by Sobriety Through Outpatient. I'd first like to say thanks and acknowledge our producer, Mr. Robert O. Washington. And I'd also like to acknowledge our studio guests for this afternoon. We have Joe.
Hi, hello.
We have Margaret.
Hello, how are you today?
We have Ellen.
Hello.
And we have Mr. Fred.
Good afternoon.
Okay, when I thought about today's topic, I came up with a term that I've been hearing for about the past week or two. Actually, I've heard about, I've heard the term prior to that, but I've heard it a lot in recent days, and that's the term condemnation. So today's subject is going to be about self-condemnation. And for me, well, first, let me take a few minutes to thank God and honor God for allowing, us to be here and share our experiences and opinions with each other. And I also like to thank our studio guests for coming on and sharing their opinions and views. I'd like to identify ourselves by saying that this is Stop Recovery Radio, stop-phila.org. That's stop-philly.org. We also have two call-in numbers, 267-507-2320. Let me repeat that. That's 267-507-2320. And we have a toll-free number as well, 1-800-660-7867, extension 136. I'm going to repeat that one as well, 1-800-660-7867, extension 136. Self-condemnation is the topic that we're going to talk about for a little bit this afternoon. Now, from what I've been hearing in recent weeks, like I had just stated about, I've been hearing a lot of that lately, and all I can do is when I hear it is figure out how self-condemnation relates to me personally. And well, as we know, the root word is condemn. So we know that it has something to do with condemning, but I'm talking about self-condemning, self-condemnation. And some of the things that I think about when I think about self-condemnation is low self-esteem, low self-worth, not thinking that I can measure up, punishing myself, being a prisoner of my own way of thinking about me, not thinking that I can measure up, not thinking that I can accomplish things, almost being afraid of failure, but I've come to understand that that's just something that's in my mind. It's not a reality, and by me having and gaining a God of my understanding, the God of my understanding tells me I need not be that way, because through him all things are possible. All things are possible. There's nothing out here that I can't do. But I have suffered from low self-esteem for a long time, low self-worth. I've had feelings of hopelessness, joylessness, and a lot of that came from the simple fact that I don't know whether I was afraid or, I just didn't think that I could accomplish, and a lot of that had to do with my upbringing, not to really blame anybody, because it's not about the blame game anymore. It's about taking the knowledge that I've learned, through this process and using it to move forward, learning and understanding that there isn't anything out here that I can't do or I can't accomplish, with no fear, because for me there was a lot of fear, that came along with that self-condemnation, I hear my pastor talk about a lot about you are what you think you're not, and when I first heard that, I'm not even sure if I really understood it. I mean, I heard the words and I understood what the words meant, but I wasn't sure how that related to me after thinking about it for a while. Because again, I suffered from that. He says, you are what you think you're not. So it's almost like I was my worst enemy. my mind was defeating me because of the way that I thought about myself. I didn't think very highly of myself. I didn't think I could measure up. I didn't think I was smart enough. I thought that I was the lowest, worst thing on the planet. But because of this process, I've come to realize that that's not true. You know, I've learned from listening to other people and doing a self inventory and just understanding that a lot of that was just my own sick thinking. You know, and a lot was how I was brought up. You know, I probably could have been encouraged a little bit more. You know, as a young man growing up, you know, I didn't a lot of those things that I didn't get. Now, my grandmother and mother did stress education in the house, and I clearly remember that because I've always gotten good grades. I've never failed a grade. I graduated from high school, went to college for a few years. I have certain trade skills under my belt where I'm certified in, but I'm learning now that that's not enough for me. That is, you know, there are a lot more things out here that I want to accomplish and I want to do because I'm realizing now that I can accomplish those things. You know, I don't suffer from low self-esteem anymore. I don't suffer from low self-worth because I know that I am worth something, you know. And I'm grateful for that. But I just want to be quiet for a few minutes and open up the floor to any of our panelists who wishes to speak on self-condemnation. The floor is open.
Well, self-condemnation. I want to talk about myself in the respect that I put myself through a lot, and for a number of years, I was my biggest enemy because I've always stood in the way, man, of blessings, and I've always took pride in being number one or being the best. Number two basically wasn't acceptable to me. You know, there was never a lot of humility in my life, and by being in recovery process, uh, I had to find out really what being humble was really all about. And now that I've succumbed to this, um, it's a wonderful experience. I had to come to this place because that was a part of my destiny. So, in all of that, I've gained a lot of knowledge as far as like really condemning myself and beating up on myself. The drug itself, when I was expected to do some things that I didn't do and I let myself down, I was like the saddest I would continue to just beat up and beat up and beat up on myself, abuse myself through, the drug process. Um, I was my biggest enemy, and there were times that I was basically trying to commit suicide, take myself out of here, but I was doing it anyway from doing drugs because it was a slow death process. So I'm really grateful that I have God in my life now and that He's been able to show me some things about myself and show me some things about those triggers. Things that I had came to a place where I was very doubtful, I had fear, and I had a lot of unbelief in my life. So with those three things, the blessings were just, I was just stuck. I couldn't, open any doors as far as blessings. And I'm really grateful that I'm at this place now that I can really receive and acquire some knowledge and get some things under my belt spiritually so that I am able to go in and, be blessed. Um, I found out a lot about recovery in this process, because in stinking thinking, the drugs itself helped me to pile more up on myself as far as being suppressed, depressed, oppressed, pressed down and weighed over. So I've learned to really look at me and not just abuse myself, but I'm learning to love myself. And I'm just grateful that I have the opportunity now to be able to acquire some knowledge and to be able to get some things under my belt so that I'm not able to give myself a slow death process or kill myself with insane behaviors or being able to just, tell myself what I can't do. I believe that I can do all things in Christ who strengthens me. So that's basically where I'm at with that. That's all I have right now.
Thank you for sharing that. It's like being a prisoner of your own self, of your own mind. That's pretty much how I look at it as a whole. But would anybody else like to share their opinion on self-condemnation?
Yeah. Well, I believe that when we're in the process of transitioning from addiction to sobriety, we tend to not give ourselves enough praise for what we've accomplished. We tend to have emotional thoughts that there's more that we can do, better ways that we can feel. But if you don't have God, and you don't have any spirituality in your recovery, you tend to get lost in the shuffle somewhere, trying to find something to hold on, either humility or any kind of satisfaction or belief, or just generally where you're going. You tend to just lack focus on what's going on around you, and also in some cases you just tend to overthink things, not listen enough. You just tend to speak and speak and speak and not realize what's being communicated to you. Which condemning, where we tend to condemn ourselves, and try to find a way,
Mm-hmm.
But through challenges and overcoming adversity, you tend to always come out right in the end.
Absolutely.
Through the support of the church and loved ones and others around you. That's my thoughts on it.
Okay. Those are some pretty good words. Can I hear from the ladies, or one of the ladies? The topic is self-condemnation.
Well, me, myself, I've always beat up on myself. I never did enough, even though I felt as though I've done enough and I'm tired. But truly, I've always beat up on myself. I didn't need other people to beat up on me. I did it to myself, and then with that alcohol, it just made me beat myself up even more. Thank God that I just woke up one day and said, I'm tired of this. Let me get out of this hole. And get your life together, Margaret. So I decided to come one day on the stop one day, and 30 days now I have stopped. So, I don't even beat up with myself now. I'm grateful. I'm glad that I came in contact with this program. Never heard of it before, but it has truly helped me, and I recommend it to others. But it's awesome here, the friends, the understanding, the staff here is wonderful. Everybody got issues, so only thing I can say is just don't hold yourself hostage in your own waste. That's all.
Wow, that's a good way of putting it. Real good way of putting it. Nobody beat me up worse than I did. Nobody put me down worse than I did. I treated myself so horribly. It wasn't no self-love. There was none of that. Because if I truly did love myself and felt that I had some worth, I wouldn't have done those things to myself. So there was something wrong. It's like being a prisoner within yourself. It's like and it's the worst kind of prison.
Mm-hmm.
It's worse than any physical prison. You put me behind bars, but being a prisoner of your mind and yourself is probably the worst thing out there. What about you, Miss Ellen?
topic? Oh, well, I know the topic. What's the name? I forgot.
Self-condemnation.
Condemnation. So it has to do with self-esteem.
Yes, it does. It's a part of it.
I don't. I think I do pronounce the word right. Self-condemn myself. I believe I do. Not myself. Just my certain abilities. I condemn that. Stuff I'm working on myself.
That's a part of it. Doubting and condemning or not feeling, almost like you can measure up. Like, for me, a lot of it, for a long time, yeah, for me, I doubted my ability, and that in turn would allow me to settle for anything.
Right.
And not for what I was worth or what I could attain. So that's how that self-condemnation affected me. But it took a lot of this process. It took listening to my pastor talk about it, listening to other people that are going through this process to make me realize, to take an honest look. Because I mean in the early stages, it's well, for me it's a difficult thing. I had to it was a process for coming to this realization. It's not something that I just woke up one day and say, oh, I suffer from this or I suffer from that. It took time, but being a part of this process was an eye opener, and the spiritual part of this program is so important. Not to go on spirituality, but I'm gonna have to talk a little bit about it because spirituality has a great deal to do with it. Developing a God of my understanding and understanding that, my God is omnipotent. He's everywhere. He's all knowing. He's all powerful. He's everywhere. And there's nothing that I can't do, through Christ who strengthens me, like Mr. Fred just said, And I tell myself this on a daily basis to keep me from sleep, because it's real easy, and I've said this a million times, that it's so easy. See, once I stop working on me, it's like going up and down an escalator. That's how I put it. How an escalator's coming down and you're walking up and you're not really going anywhere. You're almost standing still, but you may be gaining a little bit of ground depending on how fast you go up or down the escalator. Well, that's what this process is for me. I have to continue to work on myself every day. And especially when it comes to me telling myself, well, I can't do something. Even if in my mind tells me that, maybe that's not attainable for me. That's self-condemnation to me. That's telling me that I can't do it because I don't think that I can measure up. And for me, that's just a big part of it, And I've learned that that's not true, and I have to kill that way of thinking. I have to, because I will never be able to attain the things that I can, and I know that I can. So this is something that I have to tell myself every day. We've talked about the process before. This is just another process. This whole thing that I'm going through now, within this process, it's all a process. None of this stuff is going to come overnight. Everything, a day at a time, a step at a time. It doesn't all come at one time, But I do enjoy the fact that I've gained some understanding of myself, and I learn about myself through other people, through interaction with other people, through listening to other people, and through different situations and everything. I learn about me, and like I said, for a long time, I was a prisoner in my own head, and never had a clue consciously that I was, and that's what kept me in prison, the fact that I was ignorant. That's what kept me bottled up in a bottle, and I'm like, well, that's just not where it's at anymore, because once you I've always believed that once you begin to gain real knowledge, true knowledge of self, not a pretend or a mask, but true knowledge of self, then you can begin to change because you'll be able to, you'll truly, genuinely begin to understand about oneself, you know. But I like the topic condemnation because yes, you can be my guest.
Is it okay to feel like other people may try to self-condemn me?
Well, I'll say this, and I'm sure the panel here and our producer will come in and help me out with this. But I've learned for me that I don't give anybody that kind of power because once you get to the point where you love yourself enough, you care enough about yourself, it's not going to matter what somebody else says or what anybody else feels. Even if I care about that person, because I have to care about me first. It's got to overrule and overpower everything else. So if somebody wants to try to condemn me or put me down, they're like they're hitting the brick wall.
Right.
Because I'm not having it. I have control over that. I can ill afford to allow anybody to control me in any kind of way.
Yeah.
I didn't say they, in my situation,
Okay.
I didn't say they did. I said sometimes they try.
Yeah, sometimes people do try that, but you just look at it like this. You beat yourself up enough. Why would you allow someone else to do it? You know, I ain't having today in my sobriety, I'm grateful and I am ecstatic the fact that I have come this far. Under the circumstances that I've been through and I put myself in here. I beat myself up. Oh no way. I'm not possibly allowing anyone else to beat me up. It's my world, and that's it. Like I learned to love Margaret today. Before I didn't even know Margaret. For 51 years, I never knew Margaret, but today I know Margaret, a beautiful Margaret. They say I'm beautiful as far as looks, but you just got to get the inside of me.
Absolutely.
And I found the insides of me. Yes, I am beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, you are.
When you allow someone to rent space in your head that's not paying rent, you've given them authority over you. You cannot allow anyone to rent space in your head that's not paying rent because it's devastating. You have to constantly always work on you. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, I beseech you therefore, brother, by the mercies of God, that you present yourself as a living sacrifice, which is holy and acceptable unto God. That means that when you're taking care of the body, there's three parts to us. We have a mind, which is soul, we have a spirit, and we have a body. We have to take care of those three things. And it talks about doing things decently and in order. So when you're taking care of those things and working on you, there's no room for anybody else to come in and be up in your brain and open up the top of your head and drop thoughts in your head. You're taking care of what you need to take care of. Therefore, you're focused. It's like a horse having bridles on. You're focused. You got your eyes on the prize, and there's nothing that can defeat you. So.
Yeah, that's why us as a society, we tend to be programmed in from when we're young. We're always worried about the image that we project, what somebody thinks of us, how we look, how we feel, where we're going, where we live, where we work. How many kids do we have? What kind of kids do we have? Do they go to a good school? And we tend to deny ourselves our worth, where we should be or we deserve to be. We're so worried about where others think we should be that we tend to ignore ourselves.
Okay. Yeah, I remember a lot of that coming up, living in the house with my mother and how, that she would talk to her friends and other people, that she would make things a lot more elegant and more elegant than what they really were. And I don't know if I really understood that coming up or not. But as I got older, I think I did begin to understand a little bit. It's about projecting an image. It's about having people think something that's not really what it is, you know, and yes, you talked about society, Mr. Z, and our society is like that, you know, but um, I've learned, well, for me, you know, because I truly believe in the scriptures that I will not make myself no more than what I am under any circumstances, because I don't feel as though I have to. I feel good enough about me today, where I'm at, what I'm doing, you know, and I'm doing things to attain more than that, and I feel good about that too. So um, nobody rents space in this head. Nobody makes me come outside of myself when I don't want to. No, no, I have that kind of control, you know. But you know, we're talking about self condemnation and you know how that plays a part in this process, you know. And I mean that's just how it is for me, you know. Like I said, every morning I tell myself that, you know, I mean, I do something every day, at least no matter how small it is, even if it's just going to the computer and going online, I'm doing something a little bit every day to get me to where I want to go. You know, I don't believe in sitting around for a whole day and not do nothing. I mean, something that's going to benefit me every day. You know, that's going to take me in the direction that I'm going because things happen a little at a time. I'm not going to get it all overnight, but see, that's just how I've come to view things because I mean they say you can't make up for lost time. Well, that's what I'm trying to do, even though I know in reality I can't because what's going is going.
Well, yeah, you know, God has a plan for you each and every day.
Each and every day.
And you need to stand pleasing in His sight, you know, to do what's pleasing to Him.
First and foremost.
When you get to a place where you're not doing something every day, then you're condemning yourself. Because every day is a new day. Twins look alike, but they're different. Monday and Tuesday are close together, but they're different days. So when you wake up in the morning, you don't want to smell like yesterday or the day before. Every day is a new day. And we're supposed to take one day at a time. When we get to a point we're not trying to acquire, achieve, then we're just like babbling idiots walking out here with idle time.
It's a missed opportunity.
Absolutely. So He created us to achieve, acquire, advance, progress. And a lot of us want to put the cart before the horse, image, but we don't have substance. No knowledge, not knowledgeable of anything, can't read a book, can't write. What are you doing? Nothing. And then on top of that, put the drug on top of it, and then it becomes stupidity. So out of saying all of that, I look at those type of behaviors from others, but I also check myself too. Because there's a time that I was truly stuck in a cardinal stage, couldn't move, gifts flowing, but can't do anything because I refused to yield myself as to what God would have me to do. And I was stuck like Chuck. Then on top of that, I was still trying to find a successful way to be able to do what I want to do, and then put God on the leash like He was a dog. Now, what was more insane than that? So I'm not fully telling you that I have it together now, but I do know if He's not in everything that I do, I can't be trusted. You know, He said, I go before you make the crooked path straight. If He's not in everything or orchestrates everything I do, or in the words of seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and His righteousness, and all these things will be added. Now, if He's not in the forefront, my mind is going to go everywhere. You know, I don't have to be taking a drag or puff for some crack and not be doing dope, because you could not be doing dope but still have crack moves, dope fiend moves.
Yeah.
So basically, this is with, I say it with honesty and integrity. It says, give honor where honor is due. I'm giving Him honor because I know that I need Him. Because even in my best thinking, I was tripping and I was in trouble. So we talk about condemnation. When you don't have Him, you're condemning yourself. It's like a slow death all the time. And that's what the adversary wants. He wants you to be stuck on stupid. Because he's like, he was done to be cast down. So he's the author and the finisher of being stupid.
Right.
So we got to keep it moving.
Yeah.
And when you say that, like I find myself now getting more and more. I mean, I've been raised into the Bible, believing in God and all that, but I'm starting to see like just different things in my life that's coming, the more faith that I had in him, and I started to study the word a little bit more, things are starting to change in my life. And I was looking at it like when I was out there doing my thing, and I would see people giving people on the street money, and hey, they were on drugs. Who was I to be judging what they was on? You know? But today, like, for the last week since I've been, coming in this program, I don't come in longer than that. But just saying my prayers every day, I open up my eyes, and before I go to sleep at night, just seem like every day I'm giving something, to a stranger, someone on the street where I'd be like, I remember when I was in my own addiction, I would look at him, I'd be like, I ain't giving you nothing because I knew what you was going to do with it. But that wasn't for me to be doing. But just in my heart today, I got this giving feeling. I got this giving feeling. Like a couple people asked me for, like, standing outside the gas station. Man, I remember the time I wouldn't give them a dime. Now they asked for a dollar, I give them $5. You know what I'm saying? And that came from my heart, and I felt so good. I really actually felt good behind giving them $5 when they only asked for a dollar. I said to myself, what's going on with me? I'm getting in touch with that greater person, greater than me. And it's just starting to turn my life so completely around. Like, I'm starting to attend back to my Bible study classes and back in the church and everything. And I'm feeling good. I'm feeling so good today. I mean, I'm like hyped. You know how the kids say, oh, you all hyped. Yeah, I'm hyped today. You know what I'm saying? Thank God that he brought me out of that world. That addiction,
You touched on something when you said greater. I thought about the scriptures when it says greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world.
That's
So
right.
that greater that's
Right.
in you, Martin, keep letting him do what he does because he's
working on it. Trust me, he's
he
working.
knows. And even when you think that he's like he might be slow to move, he's moving on our behalf because we don't know what it is to really, really love someone unconditionally. We say we do, but we have limits. There's a limit. Like, this is the last time that I'm going to do it. Now, the greatest gift we can have on this earth as a reward is a mother. Because when a mother gives up on you, you're done. So, I mean, that is a great reward. To have a mother that is a mother, that's a great reward. Because guess what? Fathers, when they get to a place where they're done, and they say that they're done, you look at the mentality now, they can make babies and walk away.
Yes.
So you know that there's a callous side to them as far as that's concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about condemning ourselves. They come in the world condemning themselves because they don't know who their father is. I don't know who I am. They're mad with everybody. This condemnation is there already. He's mad. He doesn't know. Like, he got issues like, Mom, like, who's my dad? She'd be like, I don't know. You know what I mean? So it's like, Mama's baby and Daddy's baby. You can't tell who the father is. You got dumb shows like TV shows coming up on who's the baby's daddy. So the thing is that, look, man, we have to have some acceptance today and be grateful. Mm-hmm. Now, there's no children that's been born in this world that's a mistake.
No.
Because God meant for them to be here.
Amen.
So the bottom line is we just have to do. The mother is a wonderful thing because regardless of who she is, she has to embrace them and give them what they basically need. Give them what they need, which is that love. On the basis to cultivate them and not let them be at a place. See, we're better people because we're here. We're better people because we went through this drug process.
That's right.
We touched on things that other people didn't touch on. Thank God we have places like Stop and other places around that we could embrace. So it's like being in recovery. We acquiring some knowledge. We're getting some footwork. We're getting some things, and we're better people because of it. A man or woman that hasn't been in recovery, they can't speak. They only have an inkling. They don't have a clue as to what's going on concerning this process. Yeah, we beat up ourselves. We abuse ourselves. We hated ourselves. Constantly, all this like sticking a needle in your arm. What's more hatred than that? Taking crack, smoking it, people's hearts busting. It's always a condemning process. But guess what? We're done. We're loving ourselves now. You know what I'm saying? We're loving ourselves because He first loved us.
That's right.
That's right.
So that's just what it's about. If nobody haven't told all of you they love you, Guess what? I love myself.
I know that's right.
You know.
Well, yeah, you should. You know, it's in the midst of addiction, we seem to become content with mediocrity. You know, rather than
Wow.
Very
settle
good.
for more. You know,
That's what I'm talking
because
about.
we don't know anymore. You know, we
Right.
just know what we know, and we know the way we're going. You know, and we know what's driving us. Now, us are not driving us. You know, and the single most underlying factor of condemnation is blame.
Yeah.
You know, we're pointing a finger. You know, I'm an addict. I'm high, face down on the floor. It's your fault. It's not my fault.
Mhm.
I didn't put me there. You put me there.
Yeah.
I got fired from my job
Yeah.
because I decided not to come to work today. Again, it's your fault, not my fault.
Yeah.
It's your fault my alarm clock didn't go off.
Right.
It's your fault I was in the club till 3 o'clock in the morning. I just went home
Sure,
and beat
you're
my
right.
wife. Guess what? That's your fault too.
Sure, you're right. Yeah.
You made me do that.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, it's easier to blame somebody else
Right.
rather than for us to stop and look at ourselves
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
and where we're putting ourselves, both mentally and physically.
Mhm. You know, and that just the way you just put that just reminded me of something that I've been hearing a lot lately. People will give the excuse and blame other people for going out to use, or saying it because they didn't give me the paperwork to go get this. I want to go out and get high. And I'm like, I said, well, maybe that's really what they want to do anyway.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like they play the blame game.
Yeah, but it seems that's what society does. I mean, even after my daughter passed away, I was born and raised Roman Catholic. Went to Catholic school, Catholic church for years. But after my daughter passed, I didn't go back to church. I blamed God for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that was wrong. And again, that was me blaming somebody else for the way I felt because it was easier.
Yeah.
You know, it was easier to put it on something other than me,
Right.
to focus the attention off of me.
That's right. Yeah. And when you and like even for me, you know, when you're used to doing that type of behavior, it's a process to get away from it. You know, it's a process. You know, I mean, if a person's been blaming somebody for everything that's going wrong in their life for 15, 25, 35, 40 years, coming out of that's not going to happen like instantaneously. It's going to take a process, but you got to almost like give yourself a chance or give yourself a break. You know, you got to come to an understanding and learn some things. Like Mr. Washington was just saying, this, you know, to a gentleman out here that maybe sometimes we need to take the cotton out of our ears and put it in our mouth and just shut up and listen to learn a few things. You know, and what you're saying makes all the sense in
Well,
the
you're
world.
absolutely right. You know, 80% of it is listening.
Absolutely.
You know, and then you proceed to speak and understand. It's all contrast and clarity.
That's right.
Everything you do in every day of your life, that's what it is. It's contrast and clarity. You know, that's constantly what you're seeking.
There's certain things that basically will give you a wake up call. In addiction. This is where I differ with 12 step. I'm not an addict. God didn't make me an addict. I'm in recovery. You know, and I serve a God that is a deliverer. You know, I made a decision that, hey, we have to make decisions because when you make a decision, God honors your decision making. And the moment I made that decision, I knew I was delivered. I'm not going to tell you that I shouldn't be working on things because I'm continuing to work on things. And while I'm working on spiritual things, that will keep you clean itself. You know, you have to know that you know that you know that you know that you delivered. I know I'm never going back because I serve a God that went down in the pit of hell, delivered them. He descended so he could ascend. And I don't just say that because it sounds good as far as words. That's his word, and I believe his word. I didn't always believe it because I was always insane and sick and thought that he was on my level. He said, well, I'm not on your level. So you can take a rocket ship and go up to heaven. And he said, that's how high my way, and the rocket ship will keep going. That's how high my ways are to yours. So now that when in the process when I was stuck and I hit rock bottom, I had to find out that he was the rock at the bottom. to be able to, for me to ascend out of that muck and that garbage, man. You know, and like I have feelings about that because I say to myself, like, how could I have ever been so stuck or so stupid? But that was a part of my destiny. And as a result of me going through the muck and the mire, he's gonna flip that thing around and use that to his glory. You know, you understand?
That's
So
right.
now I can get to a point where every day is a good day to me because I understand that, look, I'm clean. Look, I'm right with you. I ain't gonna say I'm perfect. Now I ain't gonna tell you I ain't got issues, because I do, because I'm an imperfect man. So that's why he sent his son in the world, so he could deal with those issues that I have. But when I begin to see myself how his son sees me, then I'm seated up in high places with him. That means I'm more than a conqueror. That means I could do all things. And so I have to not be conformed, but be transformed by the renewing of my mind.
That's
So
right.
when I say that I'm not an addict, I'm not an addict. You know, I'm in recovery, meaning I'm recovering those things that I lost.
That's right.
Restoring to me what the cankerworm stole from me. So, you know, the thing is, like, it's an ongoing process. I'm not gonna say I have it together because he's a God of past, present, and future. So that means he knows my future. He knows where I'm going. As long as I'm following that map that he has laid out before me, guess what? I'm all right.
That's right. Yeah, renewal of the mind will knock that self-condemnation right out the box.
Every addict is a phoenix reborn from the ashes.
Sure. Yeah. I also believe things happen, things that, a series of events or a divine purpose anyway, especially for us. Well, for me, and I mean us too, but everything happens for a purpose, and God will use it to his glory, and I'm going right along with him.
No test, no testimony.
That's right. Yeah. But we're getting close to that hour now. If anybody has any more comments or any closing comments on self-condemnation, now is the time.
Well, I thank you for you letting me be a participant, and I thank you for allowing me to have me here with these two beautiful ladies and yourself, as well as my brother here, because, it's like a melting pot, like with soup, once you put ingredients in, it's different flavors and a different perspective and, from all kind of angles, man, and you're able to learn something. We have a mouth to speak and we have ears to listen. And everything that everyone has said here today on, condemnation is, man, it was valuable to me as information, and I've achieved a great amount of wealth, man. So on the basis of Russell and Mr. Washington, allowing me to sit here, man, I'm honored, man, and I'm just thank you for that, because it was therapy for me, because you're only as sick as your secrets, and once you can vent and get things out or exchange, is a wonderful thing. So thanks for having me.
No problem. I give all thanks and credit and glory to God. It's nothing that I do. It's all God driven. It's all the credit and glory goes to God.
Amen.
And that's where I put it. I take no credit. No, not me. It's God. God is the creator of all things. He gave us dominion over everything, but all things that happen is through his works. It's through his power, because he is all powerful. So you've been listening to Living Life, brought to you by Sobriety Through Outpatient. I'm your host, Russell Stevens. I'd like to again thank Mr. Robert L. Washington, and I'd like to thank our studio guests, Joe, Margaret, Ellen, and Fred. And I want to tell everybody out there to have a great day.
You women were super here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.